The sale of mythical concoctions, elixirs, and ointments is big business. That's how I made my millions. And then, developing a line of TV dinners for pets is how I lost it all. But Renegade Games may have a way for me to relive my glory days of profitably purveying potions to the public with Apotheca, a game of being first to connect sets of potions in a manic marketplace. The gameplay in Apotheca is quick and simple, but simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. For more information on what I mean, let's take a look at how to play Apotheca. In Apotheca, players will add various powerful apothecaries to their employ and then provide them with precious potions. The first player to fulfill orders for 3 apothecaries that they have hired wins. Now, players will obtain potions from a central shared marketplace. However, due to some unfortunately poor planning by the Magical Merchants Guild, a portion of the potions in the marketplace will be face down and secret. Now, each player will only know the identities of several of the face down potions on the board at any given time. So, in order to fulfill their orders and win the game, the players will need to discover which potions are which and then manipulate their positions on the board, all while their opponents are doing the same. Here's a closer look at how the game works. To set up the game, first shuffle the potion tiles. Then place a face-up potion in each of the 4 corners of the board, which is the marketplace. Then place 2 potions, face down, diagonal to each other in 2 of the 4 center spaces of the marketplace. Note that the back of each potion tile has an arrow on it. The 2 potions that were placed face down during the setup phase should have their arrows pointing towards the second player. We'll discuss the purpose of these arrows in just a moment, but first let's continue with the setup. Next, the deck of apothecary cards is shuffled and 1 is dealt to each player. The apothecaries have powerful abilities that a player can utilize on their turn. After each player has been dealt their first apothecary, an additional one is placed in each of the hiring stations that have a price of 2 gems. Then, the rest of the deck is placed, face down, in the station with a price of 3 gems. If playing a 3-player game, the third player receives the extra action token, which they may discard during one of their turns to take an additional action. The game is now set up and ready to begin. On each player's turn, they must perform 2 different actions out of the 4 actions that are available. The exception to this is that on the first player's very first turn, they only take 1 action. Players may not repeat the same action twice on the same turn. So what are the actions that the players can choose from? They are the following 4 options. The first option is to reveal by flipping over any face-down potion in the market. That player then gains a gem of that potion's color. There's no limit to how many gems a player may hold in their inventory. The second option is to restock the marketplace with up to 3 new face-down potions. This action may not be taken if there's already 3 face-down potions in the market. To restock, the player draws a potion from the supply, looks at it secretly, and then places it face down on any open space in the market. The player then repeats this process until there are 3 face-down potions in the market. The player who places a potion in the market points its arrow towards themselves. This is a reminder of who placed each potion in the market. Now, players may peek at potions that point to them at any time during the game. The third option that's available is to hire one of the apothecaries from Apothecary Alley. This is done by spending 2 gems of the indicated color or by spending 1 gem of each color. Gems that are spent to hire apothecaries are returned to the bank. If a player spends 1 gem of each color, they may instead take the top card of the apothecary deck without looking at it first. Immediately refill any empty apothecary station with the top card of the apothecary deck. After hiring an apothecary, the player places it in front of themselves on the table. It is now controlled by that player. Players may have any number of apothecaries under their control. The fourth action that a player can take is to use the special power of an apothecary that they control. If a player is controlling multiple apothecaries, each one counts as a different action. So they may use the power action multiple times on the same turn if they select a different apothecary each time. The purpose of the actions that players take on their turns are to reveal and manipulate the potions in the marketplace. If a player lines up at least 3 potions of the same color on their turn, they remove those potions from the market and place them face up on one of their active apothecaries. In doing so, they satisfy that apothecary's employment contract. Now, potions of any color will satisfy an apothecary. The special powers of a satisfied apothecary may no longer be used for the rest of the game, but the first player to complete 3 of them wins. Now, there are a few additional rules, such as collecting bonus gems when creating matches that contain more than 3 potions of the same color, what to do if the marketplace ever becomes completely full, and even a couple of variations are included in the rulebook. But hopefully, this overview gives you an idea of how to play the game. And speaking of how the game plays, I found Apotheca to be very fun. In fact, my entire family enjoyed it. We played it on a rainy Saturday, during which we played several different new games. But after our first game of Apotheca, we all looked at each other with wide eyes and declared all almost in unison, "Let's play that again!" The only cons that I have about the game are pretty minor. For example, due in part to how fast the game can play, we found that the ending, the very last play of the game, to be a little anticlimactic. I mean, the end can seem to just sneak up on you without much build-up or much suspense at all. To combat this lack of tension, we considered introducing a house rule in which a player's final match must contain 4 or more potions of the same color instead of the usual 3, thus requiring a player to incorporate a little more planning in order to pull off the final match for the win. Additionally, 3 players really seems to be this game's sweet spot, and the rulebook recommends playing teams when playing 4 players. So, of course, the very first thing that we did when we had 4 players available was to try a game in which we didn't play teams, just to see what would happen. And surprisingly, the game's actual usual snappy pace did seem to suffer from doing so, and that game dragged a little bit. So when playing 4 players, teams are recommended, but the game's sweet spot, yes, definitely seems to be 3 players. Finally, the artwork in the game seemed to be a little dark. And I don't mean thematically, like the images are scary, but literally dark and a little muddy. Some of the details in the game's artwork can be difficult to make out. Still, it is very attractive art, with some really nice touches, such as each potion bottle having something different in it. I mean, you didn't have to do that, Apotheca, but you did, and it's appreciated. But even with those negatives, which are very minor ones, my family and I really enjoyed Apotheca. It's a current favorite in our household, and I hope that this overview of the game has helped you determine if it would be a welcome addition in your own household as well. So until next time, thanks for watching, and for more board game news, reviews, and commentary, be sure to subscribe to both the Pair of Dice Paradise and Dice Tower YouTube channels, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter for more board game conversations as well. In the meantime, I've been Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, and take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
The Secret Potion Society. Abra, abra, Apotheca. I want to reach out and swat a Apotheca.